Welcome to the first episode of the Sorare CSC, the Celtic Supporters Club. I am Quinny, your host. I'm the manager of FC Barcelona, and I've been playing Sorare for almost 3 years. And I'm joined by some of the biggest Sorare jungle gyms that I could find to get together on a weekly basis to go through everything Celtic and Sorare. Who are the cards in form? Who are the transfers we're looking at, incomings and outgoings? All that good stuff in between. Joined with me today, and hopefully as regularly as possible we can get everyone's schedules lined up. First of all, on my left here, we've got Etienne, 23, the manager of Club Atletico de Glasgow. He's been playing Sorare for over 2 years himself. Etienne, thanks for joining us, mate. Good to see you.
You're very welcome, Quinny. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm fresh back from Lisbon. I was indeed in the Estadio Nacional paying my respect to the Lisbon Lions only a couple of days ago, so delighted to be here, paying my respect to the current Celtic team in the Web3 stratosphere that is Sorare.
Love it. And beneath Etienne, we've got everyone's favourite whale, as we call him, the Scottish whale, McBride ACE, who's been playing Sorare again for over 2 years, and is the manager of Celtic Sorare FC.
Really
McBride, great to see you, mate.
Hello. Yeah, I probably do need to change that at some point here, but it's left on quite well. So,
and just beneath me as well, we've got the manager of Red Bull Govan, which is Mark Patrick Rare. Mark, good to see you, my man.
Good evening, guys. Always a pleasure, and delighted to be talking about Celtic, unashamedly.
Unashamedly Celtic, unashamedly Sorare. That's what we're kind of wanting to do, because when it comes to this stuff, like Celtic, we all love, we've been at a bunch of Celtic games recently together, actually, watching our teams and our cards, and obviously Celtic, win big games and all that fun stuff as well. And talking to other Sorare players about Celtic, it just feels like bullying, because Celtic are one of the best teams in the world for Sorare, unashamedly, and but there's so much going on. There's so many different dynamics in the teams. There's so many talking points in the team selection every week, as well as, like I alluded to in the intro, when we get into the summer period, a lot of transfer business and looking ahead to a new season and some European competitions and all that fun stuff. So we wanted to have a wee space where we don't care if you're not Celtic fans. This is where the Celtic fans come, and if you don't want to hear it, then you don't need to hear it, because it's all here. One of the biggest parts about building the team, goalkeeper, so important, right? You need the goalkeeper to do something, ideally a clean sheet. Joe Hart, as we've all kind of laid out there, ever present for Celtic's basically going to be there for, I think we could probably agree, the rest of the calendar year is what we would probably all expect him to play for the most part, even if a replacement was signed in the summer, but he is a bit of an all or nothing card. If he doesn't get the clean sheet, he's not doing much in the game, as you guys are saying, so he doesn't really collect many points for us. And equally, when he does get the clean sheet, because he's not had that many points to accrue elsewhere, he's not really punching big numbers. So overall, given his age and some other stuff, he's maybe not an amazing goalkeeper. But the Celtic defence has some of the best picks around in the world. And I think we'll probably start with the talismanic defender we've got at the back, in terms of just profiling what you guys think of him and all the rest of it, of course. The one, the only, Callum Vickers, of course.
I thought you were going to say Starfield there. Class. The big man's going. Superb play.
Yeah, I think he's improved a lot. Actually, when he first came in at Celtic Park, I thought he was making a lot of mistakes. And I think in the European games, particularly last season, he stood out really, really bad. I remember the game against Leverkusen, got absolutely annihilated. I'm not saying that he's going to dominate European games from now on, but you can see his stature has grown, his confidence has grown. In the Scottish games in particular, I mean, he coasts the games. I mean, he really could get the pipe and slippers out.
Yeah, he's under so little pressure. I mean, his dueling is up at like 70%. So he has such a positive point score on Sorare, just from the fact that he's winning a majority of his duels, like a significant majority of his duels. A lost duel in Sorare is horrific for a defender. So 70%, that's like Van Dijk in the Premier League. But Sorare's relative to the league you're playing in, so you're going to get the same score. It doesn't matter if Van Dijk's playing in the Premier League or Carter Vickers playing in the SPFL. It doesn't matter. You get the same score at the end of it. So it makes great sense to get a Carter Vickers card in Sorare, because he's playing weaker opposition. He's absolutely smashing any striker he comes up against. He's a really good player. I was unsure of the price tag when Celtic signed him. I thought we could have got better. Maybe a centre-back in the mould of Ayer, more like a libero that's marching forward and whatever. But do you know what? He's actually played really, really well. Carter Vickers, 69% of his duels won. You can't argue with that in Sorare. And also, he doesn't make a lot of stupid fouls, Carter Vickers. Because a foul in Sorare is a duel lost and a further deduction of points on a foul. He only makes like 0.8 fouls a game or something like that. It's very smart player. Does not do stupid fouls. Doesn't get booked often. And 12 clean sheets or something this season in the league out of whatever many games. You can't really find that in Sorare. You really can't find that across the world in Sorare. Celtic are a bit unique in that sense. So although I'd say I prefer maybe a different type of defender if we're going to hit the heights in Europe, can't argue with Carter Vickers domestically.
36 accurate opposition half passes as well per game.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously in Sorare you get the reward for a final third pass from a defender. So that number is really high, particularly for a central defender. I mean, he's getting 95.7 touches a game in general. So
yep,
you know,
3.7 progressive runs per 90 as well, which is pretty good. So he's pushing up the pitch. And yeah, if defenders make final third passes, it's quite a decent boost.
Yeah, copy and paste that backline and goalkeeper, I think, for the remainder of the season is probably what's going to happen. With maybe the odd wee bit of minute relief. I think guys like Bernabe in UK are probably still going to get some minutes come this season, but I think it will be maybe the league matches that are, I don't know, just a wee bit more affordable for that kind of thing now at this stage.
League will be one soon, Quinny. Come on, be one.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. You know, like, you know, it won't be like against. Anyway, yeah, we'll see how it pans out. For me, like, I really enjoy, like, part of the, I don't know if I was going to say enjoy or not, right? But in general football, yeah, definitely enjoy. General football, when I'm watching it at the game, on the TV, whatever, midfield is always where my attention is drawn to. And it's always the players I'm looking at to see who's actually influencing the game, who's making things happen. And all across, like, the 8, 9, 10 midfielders Celtic have got on their books, we've got so many different options, so many different profiles. But it does seem to be that they can all be interchanged into the system. The system doesn't really change too much for the most part. With the rotation that we do see in midfield, you know, for me, I think Callum McGregor is the easiest pick every week. He's maybe not get the biggest high scores because he doesn't get as many goals and assists and whatever. Probably closely followed by Hatate. But then when you look at Moy, O'Reilly, Iwata, if we bring him into this conversation as a midfielder, Turnbull, Forrest and Haksabanovic, it's very much, there's a lot of different moving pieces going on there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that McGregor's probably the easiest one. I think Ange very seldom takes McGregor off, never mind, you know, doesn't start him. So I think he's probably the one guy who will be 90 minutes every game. I think Hatate's our best player, plain and simple. In fact, I think he's been our best player for some time, but I think you can see now with shit.
I've got on screen now just while we're getting Mark Patrick Rare's power sorted. So Hatate, again, a wee bit of buyer beware. He's got cards in 3 different positions. Obviously, we all know him as a midfielder, and the midfield scores are on screen now. Pretty decent, mainly crap, okay?
Yeah.
But he does have defender cards, and because he is so final third present, it can be active then to the clean sheet bonus if we get the clean sheet bonus over the line. His defender card is disgustingly good. He's almost got an L5 there at one point of like 98 or something, you know.
The defender card is definitely, when you're at home to someone like St Johnstone, I'm picking in St Johnstone tonight, they seem to be the team of choice, but you want to be picking a Hatate defender card because you get that boost of the clean sheet. Those final third passes, it's just, that Hatate defender card, honestly, is just one of my favourite things to select. When the game weeks are coming, I'm just like, oh, brilliant. But you know, Mitoma's the same for Brighton, another Japanese player. He has a forward card from his time at Kawasaki, and then when he was on loan to the USG, he has a forward card that's so much better than the midfield card because he is just an out-and-out decisive scorer. So it happens in Sorare, doesn't it, where you get these weird little quirks with the positions, and Hatate's defender card, I would say, is probably the best you can get.
He was playing left back for Frontale for a while. Ace was sort of covering that position, and he ended up with quite a lot of cards minted. And then, but he's actually got a forward card as well. I've actually got.
He's got a forward. I've got his rare forward card,
So.
which is great as well, because he's always in the hunt for a decisive. Especially at home, especially against weak opposition.
I think
and
the
Celtic
forward
are,
card, sorry, you go,
and Celtic's entire methodology of how they approach these games, it's that 2-3-5. It's the Pep Guardiola Man City, even though he's changed that. He's gone for something different now. It's a 2-3-5. Your 2-8s, your O'Reilly, your Moy, your Hatate. They just the rotations that they have, they're moving around, they're trying to create space. A nightmare to deal with. The best example of that was against that 3-0 against Rangers. Hatate scored 2. It's a great example of how devastating that system can be when you rotate to the level that Celtic were doing. The rotations on the pitch between the inverted fullback, Hatate, even the way that the wingers would stay wide and then they'd come inside, and it was just amazing. So Celtic are a joy to watch at times when people are on song like that. And I think what Mark said before he was banished and cut off, and I'm sure he'll be back at any moment. Hatate is probably Celtic's all-round best player. But it's interesting when you look at some of the data sheets and stuff that you can buy. He's nowhere near any of the top of the list. He's one of those players that he's just a bit magic. Don't know, there's something about him that's just hard to kind of pin down. Why is he so good? What is it? Just the way he plays, the way he moves, is his movement? Obviously, lots of data is not movement tracked. It's all events based. It's a tackle, an interception, a pass. The way Hatate moves around a pitch is just phenomenal. He's just an absolutely majestic player, and I would say probably need to just keep recruiting at that standard all over the pitch. Hatate should be the gold standard. Can we get a Hatate level of player all over the pitch, and we'd be winning the Champions League, I suppose.
His composure in areas, his composure in areas and tight areas, particular, and big matches, but in any match really, but in the big matches is where it makes a difference. If you look at the games against Rangers, I mean, he dominates the match against Rangers pretty much regularly, because he'll take the ball in areas that other players won't, and he'll just drive into space. As you say, Sean, absolutely. I think it's something you and I have spoken about a lot before. There's lots of times where Hatate ends up with a 25, and so rare you're ripping your hair out going, what's happening here? He's just had a blinder. But a lot of the positive things that he does and the amazing, wonderful, skillful things he does don't have a name or a score. So he ends up not getting the big fancy scores that in a game where people would probably unanimously say Starfelt has played poor and Hatate's had a blinder, could both be given the opposite scores. But yeah, I think that I think we'll struggle to keep Hatate past the summer. I know there's already some big clubs looking at him, big, massive clubs looking at him. I think a bid will come in that will be way too much for Celtic to turn down, and I'd be surprised if he's still at Celtic next season.
And then I think the final part of the pitch to come to is where the money is made. The goals are won. The goals are scored. The games are won. Is the forward positions. Now we've got 6 or 7 players, again, depending on how you want to categorise them. Forrest and Haksabanovic, technically midfielders in the substitute wing positions, as it were. But we've also got the likes of Abada, we've got Jota, we've got Furuhashi, we've got Daizen Maeda, and recent acquisition Kyogo as well. So plenty of attacking options all across the pitch. And as we mentioned earlier, Hatate has a forward card if you did want to think of him in this equation somehow. But plenty of choices. And again, the game's all about with the forward cards, as you guys will know, scoring goals. So we're after guys that can score goals, make assists, But ultimately, like we spoke about with a lot of the other positions, there is successful actions that these forwards make that we're looking for. Who's better at doing these things? You know, like Jota, very creative, takes on people on the dribble, gets into the box and looks to play passes that we're looking to tap in and stuff, so creates a lot of assists. But, you know, there's other players in the team that do other things, like Maeda wins a lot of duels, for example, and whatever, you know. So when it comes to the forwards, how do you kind of see it?
I think, like, for example, I mean, the striker's Kyogo. I don't think there's any discussion there. I know that I've saved some tweets of some Celtic fans at the start of the season making some mental points about Kyogo, and I said that this is going to be crazy for you to look at the end of the season. The guy's going to be the top scorer. He's absolutely the best striker at Celtic. He's going to go down as a club legend. He's just insanely talented. Some of the goals, I mean, two seasons in a row in a cup final, he's scored 2 goals. You know, the guy's just wonderful, and he's got an insatiable passion and you know, just likability. I think the thing is that always a better foil as a sub coming on, in my opinion, because I think GG, again, Celtic fans thought, and genuinely Celtic fans were saying that GG was better than Kyogo, which I think is absurd. GG is a good player, definitely. However, there was far too much of a why is GG not playing stuff. I think the balance at the moment with O is good because O's got to come on and really knock his pan in for that time. I think he's more of a team player. So I think that dynamic is better for Celtic at the moment. Whereas fans getting on Kyogo's back every 2 minutes, it's just like this is our best striker. The wide areas, I would say Maeda on the left again. Hate to say I told you so, but Sean and I, right from the very word go when Maeda came, we were saying this guy's going to change the club, and he has. He's comfortably made that position his own. Even at this start of the season, fans on his back. Some fans were doing the get him out of Celtic Park stuff. I was, again, saved the tweets. Crazy behaviour, crazy views that you would want to get a guy with that insane drive and, you know, just natural fitness and pressing ability, and just by his off the ball work creates so much space, but just relief for the midfield, but also for the other forward players. Plus just makes incredible runs, and is so unselfish in possession, gets the ball, isn't trying to run 30-40 yards like Jota just to try and have a shot. He's trying to look for a pass that is in the best position. Gets a lot of big chances missed. But let's be honest, he's getting a lot of big chances missed because he's getting on the end of chances that realistically has no right to be getting on the end of because he's so fast. He ends up touching the ball in the 6-yard box and it gets classed as a big chance miss.
Yeah.
I think Jota I thought Jota last season was arguably our best player. I would say probably Jota, Kyogo, McGregor. But this season, Jota's been down the pecking order, in my opinion. Just hasn't had that solid impact in the team. Now, his scores probably haven't went down as much, purely because, you know, you'll still get a million shots a game and he'll still dribble past guys a million times a game and, you know, all the stuff. But apart from I think he got 100 in the game against Hib.
100, wow.
His performances, in my opinion, haven't been to that standard. I think it's better having him on the right, and it's better having him crossing low. This one where he cuts in on the left and then does swings it in with his right foot cross. I'd like to see the stats on that because I don't think many goals have came from that. I think lots of his crossing have been speculative. On the right, where he can actually be encouraged to beat his man and get the crosses in low, I think we've had more joy out of him, and I think he's far more useful to the team. I think Abada's improved an incredible amount this season, but apparently he's leaving. There's huge influence. Huge interest in Abada. Forrest I love, but he's not going to get game time at Celtic, in my opinion. And Haksabanovic, I'm not a fan.
Shock.
You're on your own.
Yeah,
Dumbfounded.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I'm not. I think the thing is Haksabanovic is a great talent, but again, in terms of like let's talk at the start. Haksabanovic is not an Ange player again, and probably wasn't signed by Ange because he has none of the attributes that an Ange player has, which like it just hang on to the ball every single time he gets it, and try and shoot. Like there's not
he's definitely distinctively different from what you would say is a kind of a Ange system player. But he's very useful if you're playing a stubborn, low block at home. Haksabanovic is really useful.
We'll be coming back from this one, guys, after the Ross County game. So we'll be coming back to have a look at the teams we played out, what we thought about the match, and all that other good stuff, We'll be going for a fair bit. If anyone's still a lunatic and still listening to us after we're going for this long, God bless your soul and thanks very much. But guys, coming into the Ross County game, I'm quite excited for the game. I think we should probably do quite well. I'm not so confident on a clean sheet. There's a few injury worries. Just to wrap the show up, is there anything you would want to throw out for the weekend? In terms of early thoughts or predictions and whatnots?
I think it'd be interesting to see if, in terms of the injuries, because I know we spoke very briefly about potential injury. Well, Hatate, I don't know Hatate came off. From what I was led to believe, that was 2-3 weeks injury for Hatate. I don't know is he.
I've not heard anything, to be honest.
We probably won't hear anything from Celtic when it comes to injuries.
Until 3:05 on Friday. And Ange will go, he's not playing, mate.
And that's something I don't think is acceptable anymore. Like in this day and age, like they should be disclosing injuries. I don't know what advantage you gain by not disclosing to the fans the injuries of your players in a more clinical way, like they do in the MLS, like they do in Bundesliga, the Japanese league. Yokohama just put up, Yuta Koike has tendonitis in this area. He will be out for 6 weeks. Like, let us know, so we can get an idea. But Celtic still have that kind of like weird thing where, remember they were doing that thing with the lineups under Lennon? Lennon said, I don't want to put the lineup out in the right order in case the team knew the formation. You're just like, guys, we're so far past that. We're so more. The opposition is much more sophisticated than that. So yeah, that would be great if Celtic could just be more open with our injuries, just so we know is Hatate going to be playing or not, and we don't know 5 minutes past 3 when the deadline hits. And
because the reason I'm saying that is that apparently it's a hamstring. So if it's a hamstring, that's not just a straight back into the team. That's why because at first I thought it was a hamstring, and I was just checking again there, and that people seem to think it is a hamstring. So if it is a hamstring, I think he would be a doubt for the game.
Yeah.
And then it would be Moy, Riley, McGregor midfield, Jota, Maeda.
Is Moy
Kyogo
fit as well?
Yeah, Moy's okay.
Yeah, his was a minor.
He probably could have made the squad as a push, and he was being cautious. So I think that he's pretty much fit to play.
So you're probably looking at in goals Hart, Hart, Taylor, Starfelt, Vickers, Johnston, McGregor, O'Reilly, Moy, Jota, Maeda, and Kyogo.
Again, with Maeda though, he's come back for the Japanese squad, and it's said to work on his fitness. So I don't know what that means. So just friendlies they're playing now though, in it. So maybe you just try to make sure he is actually fit for the weekend. So
he didn't play.
Yeah, he didn't play, no. But Celtic have got like an 80% win chance. They're 57% chance of a clean sheet. 3 goals scored for Celtic is 59% likely. So, I mean, you've just got to kind of keep vigilant on anything that comes out of the club, which is very limited. But, just stay vigilant and see if you can get any rumours or murmurs about who's fit and who's not. Because I hate that stadium though, Ross County away. I hate the angle of the camera is very low. It's hard to kind of enjoy that game. The distances, judging the depth perception is just so difficult when the camera's that low. St Mirren's ground's the same, just not a great watch. But I'd reckon, what, about 2-0 maybe? I would say the defender cards and Joe Hart are probably the best selections for that. I think Celtic get out of there unscathed.
Yeah.
I mean, Ross County have only what they've got. Brophy obviously has been on a wee bit of form for them, but he's going to be coming up against Carter Vickers, who I think will just body him in that match. To be honest, I think it'll 3-0. I can't. It's going to need to be, as you'd said earlier on, McBride, sort of lapse in concentration from Hart, or a defensive error that would allow them to get a goal. I can't see them, getting any kind of play to score.
And Ross County have an XG of 0.94. Celtic have an expected goals against of 0.87. So this is like dreamland, clean sheet probability, predictability stuff. So my approach is probably Celtic's defenders. I'm less convinced going forward because I just hate that stadium and I don't think I want to watch that game knowing I need goals and assists from certain players when you I just don't like that stadium. I just don't like the experience of watching Ross County away games. So I'll probably put the defenders in, Celtic defenders, and maybe stick some overpowered strikers and forwards and other favourable fixtures. So I probably won't be as deep in it as you other guys who I'm sure you have full stacks out for this fixture.
They've only won one game in 5, Ross County, as well, so they're actually in pretty poor form. The home one was 4-0 against Dundee United as well, who have been pretty rancid, so they're not in good form either. I think there was once a time where you go up there and you think that's a tough away trip and stuff, but I was quite impressed how Celtic dealt with even going to Tynecastle and winning in the cup. And it was a non-SO5 game, but I thought we were really good that day, so I think even if it is a tougher game, I think we can handle that as well. But I think you're right. I think you look at recently conceded against Hibs, kind of maybe questionable penalty and stuff like that. Like I think pretty good chance of a clean sheet there.
Yeah, but then you also got to think, like you were saying earlier on, McBride, like thinking about trying to win at Sorare, and like so you can get that Salzburg are playing away to Klagenfurt. And you've got to be looking at that and going, right, I probably like to split mine up and go half Salzburg, half Celtic, just because I don't want to ruin my experience of that Celtic game when I've got a wee inkling that it might not be a floodgates opening game. Whereas Celtic at home to Ross County, I'd be all over a full Celtic demolition. But I don't know. It's the same with that St Mirren game, Mark. A couple of weeks ago, I remember saying the same to you. I just felt a wee bit, don't know, just had this feeling that it wasn't going to be the demolition that I hoped it would be, and I can't even remember how that
day, didn't we? So
no, we did. But it was so. It was an unhelpful 5, McBride. There was no
Greg Taylor,
and it was late in the game. It was like 4 goals, 20 minutes to go or something. That went up to that point. There was no. Yeah, I'm sure you guys maybe had a better luck that day.
But I think that's the thing. Like like in that, because I think that was my first game where I had to put in Carter Vickers and I think it was just Carter Vickers at that time, and then I had Taylor in my team as well, and obviously Taylor gives away the penalty.
Sorry, Mark, just before so in that game, just to make the point that this happens a lot in Sorare to maybe people who don't play it or casual players, I had Hatate, Maeda and Furuhashi in that game that Celtic won 5-1. And all 3 of those players did awful scores because the floodgates opened after they'd battered the St Mirren door for about 70 minutes. And I'm suffering, and I'm also like, that is so frustrating. Like, my guys have just knocked their pan in to put this door down, and then all these other players that other people own are just coming on and just cleaning up, and I'm just watching the game. I'm happy Celtic are winning 5-1, but yeah, it would have been nice if my players had been doing it. Quinny, the last thing I'll say about this, Celtic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt and Joe Hart would be my 3 picks for this game. if I had those players. I've only got one limited, but that would be my 3. And then I'd stick a couple of superstars at another club up front elsewhere because I've got the heebie-jeebies. But that's just me. But I think Celtic win 2-0, 3-0, comfortable.
What about you, McBride? Who's your couple of players for the game, or what players are you going to target in this game?
I think I would just do my usual strategy and just put as many Celtic teams out as possible.
On different combinations, yeah. This is what you guys can do. I'm envious.
I think I've not really had a look at what else is on at the moment, but All-Star Super Rare, I might just roll out the full stack, but we've got more options just now because you've got MLS back, you've got K-League and stuff like that, so I might fire in Cezinha or something up front and run, because I can run one in the Challenger Super Rare and one in the All-Star, which is a nice position to be in, so I'll probably base it around the defence and then maybe run one full stack and fire a couple.
So in defence,
your average Celtic fans getting exposed to Cezinha.
Who would your defence be?
I would go for Hart, Starfeld and Vickers, but I've got super rares, all of them, so I can go like the 3, and then Furuhashi's always tempting because I've got his unique, so if he bangs, then obviously because you've got the unique, that's a nice wee differential. And I've got O'Reilly's unique, so if I hear that Hatate's out, I might even actually go O'Reilly unique and then fire Cezinha or something up front.
I'll need to put that crying face mask, no, the smiling face mask on. Kyogo uniques.
I know it's quite.
It's brilliant. It's so happy for you.
I guess when you hit, Quinny will know this because obviously he's got McGregor, but the day McGregor hit a big score, Quinny was right up there. And the advantage of having some Celtic uniques is when you hit, then you're not worrying about letting limited where there's 200 other guys that have got Jota or anything. Like when they hit, you're right up there. So you still got to get it right, but sometimes I'm a bit rigid with it, and people might think, it might be better if you put this guy or that guy in, but there's a sort of strategy around that as well, where you've got a certain stack, and when it hits, that other guys just can't really beat you because there is only 2 Furuhashi uniques, and obviously there's only one Matt Riley at the moment. So,
What about you, Mark Patrick Rare? Cards for the weekend you're looking at targeting?
On a
Celtic.
lesser level to McBride, I think I'll be mixing it up with rares and limiteds of Celtic. I think I wasn't 100% sure about Starfelt after that. Ange had been talking up Kobayashi, but I think probably I would put out a stack of. I'd probably go Hradecki. I took Hradecki instead of Hart for the reasons that you mentioned. They're playing Schalke away this week, so I'd probably put Hradecki in goals with Starfelt, Carter Vickers, McGregor, and Furuhashi would be my. I don't know where I would put that, place it, but that'd probably be my best shot at it, I would say.
Nice. I think I'm kind of doing something similar to you guys. For the most part, I'm trying to get away from my Joe Hart goalkeeper cards from my biggest team. But I think for anyone that is mad enough to still be listening to the show at this point, I think the best 5 scorers, I'll make a wee bold prediction at this, right? Obviously, you'd have Joe Hart in goals. But I think for defence, if you could pick any 2 Celtic defenders, I think that's probably the way to go for this game. I would take Carter Vickers and I would take Taylor. I think O'Reilly is probably in for the shot of being best scoring midfielder in this match. And I think, like we've already said throughout the show, if you've got any pick of the strikers, you want Jota. And, all these guys I've mentioned, none of them have went away for internationals. They've all been relatively fit and healthy. A lot of the other members of the squad, maybe they've had some travel, maybe there is some question marks, like we've said. And again, like we've referenced multiple times in the show, there's nothing worse than not getting a guy starting. It just kills your mood. Even if they are dangerous from the bench, you want to see them start, and I think all 5 of those guys walk onto the team. And if we score a couple of goals, we win the match, then that team's probably going to be pretty high rolling.
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, guys, hail, and good luck this game week.
Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Match is about to kick off.